Okay, let's go. So, thank you for being here, Lisa. I really appreciate it. I know you as this like 25-year-old amazing entrepreneur, creator, and everything else. So, for the people that don't know, can you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm not 25. I wish I was
Close.
25. I wish I were 25 again, Chris. Yeah, I got to add another like decade or two onto that. I started let's see, gosh, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my business 18 years ago now, and it's a marketing business in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I sold it actually in COVID, and I'm still running it for all intents and purposes. I'm still running the business for a set amount of time because that's what happens when people buy you. They don't want you to bail and
Of
have
course.
everything turn to shit. So I'm doing that, and we have a lot of other projects in the works as well because that's what we do. My husband and I, we have a medical business, a kind of alternative therapies to help people, and diving into some really fun investments and microdosing and some cool stuff.
Well, I definitely want to talk about that, number one. But before we,
Yeah.
I'm actually a little marketing obsessed. So if you don't mind, if you are open to talking about it, so like, what kind of marketing were you doing, or I should say, are you doing still?
It is in the dental industry. And my last name's Moeller, but that's all I had to do with
My God,
dental.
yeah. I didn't even
I,
didn't even make the connection.
I should have been a dentist. That would have been an amazing marketing campaign, Dr. Moeller.
Oh man.
But I missed my calling. So the
Uh,
next best thing was owning a marketing agency and specializing in dental, all of the specialties: endo, implant, ortho, dental, sleep, now pediatric, publications, clinical journals, as well as did all digital components that surround that. Everything digital we push out for clients as well. So we actually sell to the manufacturers, and then the doctors are our end user. So they're clinical journals for the doctors. It's kind of boring teeth and gum stuff.
no,
So
I absolutely love, and any marketing talk and stuff like that. But did you just feel like a pull away, or just do you get excited by like new projects, and so you just start new projects? Is that what it is, or
uh, uh, well, I mean, I've always been in sales and marketing in one way, shape, or form, right?
right?
And I started as, gosh, I feel like I was marketing out of the womb. I mean, I've always been sold people something, lemonade stands, all the usual stuff. And I started, gosh, 30 plus years ago, my career, and I just kind of never looked back. I was in television here with ABC, the ABC affiliate. I was head of sales at Beams Magazine. I was one of the top salespeople there for a very long time. And then I've always loved print. So then I had other publications. I had a food and lifestyles magazine, which was kind of like a gourmet type publication for Arizona. And that was fun. Till my partner at the time stole the money and gambled it away in Vegas.
Ooh,
Wah, wah. Yeah,
yeah.
kind of a buzzkill there. So that was a bummer. But I learned a lot of lessons at that time. I mean, I was going through a wicked, horrendous divorce at the time, my first husband. And I lost that partner and the partner from my business at the same time. And I was like down and out.
See, I love these stories like this because, it's like I think so many people. I was talking to someone the other day who was having kind of a similar experience. I was like, well, you can't stop now. You have to keep pushing. So, like, what do you think it was that kept you going after that, or was there just no other option in your mind? Because you strike me
I
as
had
that
no
type of
other
person.
option.
Right, right.
I didn't have any other option. I mean, if you've listened to my podcast, my podcast is called Just Go F Yourself. It's all about forgiveness. It's like the F stands for forgiveness. It's kind of a little play on words there, even though I do like the other F word, the standard one.
Right.
We do use that once in a while on the pod.
Yeah, we don't
But
swear here, but she's talking about
okay,
the fuck one. That's the one
yeah.
she's referring to.
Well, when you forgive some people that you really don't want to, that's one of the only words you can actually use. But I've learned in my life that we don't always have to be present and accounted for to forgive people. That we can send them love and light and kindness and forgiveness in our heart and just go our merry way, and they don't have to influence our lives anymore.
Yeah,
So
and it's just so much easier to move on to the next thing. I think that just You know, especially in a situation like that, it just you're freeing up so much brain space. Did you feel that way after?
Oh my God, Chris, I've had so many people to forgive. I mean, I've had, again, if you listen to my podcast and go back, I don't know if I can give it, I can give you the Reader's Digest version of my
Sure.
story, and then you can kind of fire away.
Let's do it.
Hopefully this will help someone in your audience. So I was raised in a very, very dysfunctional Catholic family by a father who was an alcoholic Marine. So that was rough. We were never allowed to be sick, never allowed to have an opinion, never allowed to, get mad, have an emotion, anything like that. And it was just highly, highly, highly dysfunctional, to say the least. And by all appearances, we were like, the perfect little family at church every Sunday, but there was a lot of shit going on inside the house that went down and affected me greatly in my adulthood. So I've been in therapy from my family for about, I don't know, since my early 20s, and thank God. And you asked me how and why I did what I did. And it was because I had to survive. I was out on my own at 18 years old because my dad had an affair with my mom's sister.
Mm.
So I have an aunt, mom, and cousin brothers. And it was very Jerry Springer on steroids. It was, there's no place in Hallmark for that, Chris. There's no place in Hallmark for any of that. It's like,
No, of course
I was going to start a card line, and call it the Twisted Tree, and have it be like, happy birthday to my aunt. I love you. You were my favorite aunt ever. And then you open it up, but now you're my stepmom. So fuck off.
I think that is a great idea. Somebody might take that idea and run with it. I think that would be a great business idea.
I got the trademark on that one, guys. So don't even try it. I still might do it. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think like motivated you? Because I think some people, like, most people in a situation like that, they just go, well, I mean, I guess they go the other direction, but you clearly went this way. So, what motivated you? Or is it
I literally should have been slobbering on myself outside the Circle K with a needle in my arm.
Yeah.
I mean, every therapist has told me this. The way I was raised, I was out on my own at 18. It was kind of one of those things where my mom was like, okay, like I'm moving, I'm leaving. And she obviously had a really hard time with what went down. I mean, who wouldn't? And my dad was doing his thing, and my brothers were at college, and I was 18 years old, just graduated high school. And I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. I mean, I was scrapping. I was couch surfing. I was trying to survive. I was working 2 jobs and trying to go to school. And the one thing that saved me, and I've told him this to this day, is I would pop in Tony Robbins' Personal Power tapes, and tapes that's how old I am. Okay, for your audience, they're like, "What's a tape?" A cassette tape actually existed back in the 80s. And I would pop those into and from work. And sometimes most days, Tony's voice would be the only positive message I would hear, because I had so much shit going on around me. And I would think to myself, I wouldn't even listen sometimes. I just let it sink in. I just play it and put it on repeat and just let it sink into my subconscious. And I thought to myself, if I could only attend one of Tony's seminars one day, I mean, that will be like the most amazing day of my life. And because he's helped me in so many ways. And I was obsessed, and I was obsessed with Zig Ziglar and Les Brown, and, all those guys, Wayne Dyer. He was the first one, Wayne Dyer was one of the first, like, I'll believe it when I see it, or no, I'll see it when I believe it. I'll see it when I believe it. That book right there was the secret. That was the first secret as far as I was concerned. So fast forward to many years later, and owning my business and my marketing business, and having a sleep apnea magazine. And Tony, I got to interview him in Vegas for a trade show for dental. And he asked if he had all the media come in to interview, and me and my crew were the last ones in there. And I come in with all the girls, and we're just like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, I'm just being me, and, so happy and excited to interview him. And I'm sitting here like, what is going on? Like, pinch me right now. Cause I'm like one-on-one with him, getting a full interview. And I told him how much he influenced my life. I said, "You just really changed my life." So here I am, thinking back in my 20s, my life is over. And, I'm like, if I could only like meet him one day. And then I'm interviewing him for my company. 25 years later. So that was a full circle moment. And I told him, and he's like, how so? How did it affect your life? And I told him the story, and he's crying. I'm crying. We're all crying. And it was amazing. It was a surreal moment. It was one of those moments in life where I'm going to look back and go, that was like, whoa, that was a universal intervention right there,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it was
Yeah,
incredible.
I mean, that was going to be my next question, was like, who is the person that that kind of you listen to, or was there a person? But now I know. I used to, because I remember I used to walk around like when I was just trying to get things going in my life. I used to walk and listen to Les Brown. Les Brown was the one that I would listen to, like, just
Coolest.
nonstop, just always listening to him. And
Yeah.
it totally, like, is one of the things I think motivated me the most, probably. Um,
Hmm. He
Since,
still does. He's still doing
oh
it.
my God, yeah, he's, yeah, still amazing for
He's
sure.
still doing it. All those guys. I mean, I had all their books. I had all their tapes. I just listened to it. And I don't know why. I don't know why I went that way. Thank God. It was by the grace of God. I do know why. It was by the grace of God that I really went that direction. Because all my friends were doing drugs and cocaine was flying, and it's the 80s. And, I could have gone so many different ways. And I chose, I don't know, I just was like, I'm not going down this way. I'm not going to do it. And my family I was really the kind of the black sheep always in my family, because they were always like, I didn't think they expected too much out of me. I think my parents just kind of expected I should probably get pregnant, have kids, and get married or whatever. And I don't know, I just wanted more for my life. I've always felt like I've had a higher calling to
Mm.
help people, to help myself and then to help others.
Yeah, I love that, because just it is like, sometimes I do see it as a choice. Like, there's so many, I think there's so many other choices we can make where we just do nothing, or but I think doing something is a better choice. But I think that's all it takes too, is just making the choice. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. Yeah. If
Just,
we're not, if we're not moving forward, we're dying. If we're
yeah.
not progressing, we're dying.
And I think,
And I could have played the blame game with my parents, and I've been accused this podcast from my family of, you're playing the victim, It's bullshit. I'm helping people. I
mhm.
feel like if God brought me through this crap, I am going to help someone. I'm helping a lot of people, because I get a lot of DMs about how the episode, changed them and helped them. And I mean, that's what it's for.
Yeah, and I would love to talk about the podcast with you as well. So it is Just Go After Yourself, like you said, and it's all about forgiveness. And
Yes.
we kind of talked about it, but are there any like standout things that you think that you've gathered from the podcast? How long have you been doing it, actually?
Just a little over a year.
So is
I'm
there
on
anything that
episode
really,
65.
wow, look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not
Flying.
easy. When I get to 100, I'm going to be like popping some champs. It was not easy. I mean, you've got to have content. People think, oh, I'll just start a podcast. It's so
Hmm.
easy to, and you got to prepare for it. You got to get an interesting guest. You got to edit it. You got to put it out. It's fun. It's fun. It's my passion project. So I love
Yeah.
it. But I love people that start a podcast and then they go like 20 episodes or something and they're done.
Yeah, no,
They're done.
yeah. I think you got to make it like 100. You got to say to yourself that you're going to do at least 100, and see how it goes after that, right?
Yeah. It's just fun. I mean, a lot like you, I have guests on, we just have normal conversations.
Mm.
I'm over the top. I'm who I am. I mean, I'm who I am. I don't pretend to be anything more, anything less. It's just what you see is what you get with me. And I'm kind of a foul mouthed, girl with a lot of opinions, but
Right.
you know what? It served me in my life. I've never been afraid of anybody. And I can thank my dad for that, because my dad raised me very, like, very, very strict, but very, like, just, I mean, I was, just, I can, like a tomboy, like I could do things. I could, not like the typical girl. I just wasn't, I figured if I passed my dad's, like, living with him and dealing with him for 18 years of my life, I can kind of do anything, and not a lot scares me because of that. So
Mhm.
like Tony Robbins says, if you're going to blame him for the bad, you better blame him for the good too.
Right.
And my dad taught me a lot of really good lessons. He taught me how to be on time. He taught me how to have an amazing work ethic. He taught me how to deal with people. He taught me how to read a room. I mean, he was an alcoholic. I would come in the house and I have to read the house in 5 seconds of walking in to know what I was getting into. Right.
Yep.
So that was very helpful when I got into sales, and I could read someone and their body language, and, I still do it today. So maybe I'm sometimes obsessive over it at a restaurant. I'm like, nope. I'm my husband laughs. He's like, you always have to sit not facing the door and not, or like looking at the door. I'm like, yeah, I do. I have to do these. It's just, I don't know. I have some neurosis over it too, obviously, but it's
Yeah,
worked out well for me.
reminds me of I think it's a Tim Ferriss question, like how's the worst thing that happened to you, the best thing that happened to you, and what superpowers or what gold or treasure can you get out of the things that you've been through? And I think that's an amazing example. So I feel like that's a little bit of gold for everybody that's here, is kind of like looking at those things that you gained from those situations.
We've got to, again, if God brought me to it and through it,
Hmm.
there was a reason. There was a reason for that. And my reason is to help others and to learn the lessons that I needed to learn, because I felt like it was no coincidence that I was born into this family, right?
Right.
And that that was my life path, and what I needed to learn. And I'm here to help people and help others and understand that, we're all human, man. We need to let ourselves off the hook. We all take each other and ourselves very seriously. And sometimes we just need to let ourselves off the freaking hook, and others for that matter. But there's still people in my life I need to forgive that I'm
Mhm.
working on. It doesn't mean that I've forgiven everyone and it's magic hocus pocus, it's all done, but it's a work in progress daily.
Right. And what do you think that looks like for, what does forgiveness look like for you in when you forgive a person? Or do you think it's more, is it internal, both, is it external, both?
It looks like me not throttling my mom's neck when she pisses me off. It looks like a lot of patience. It looks like a lot of grace. It looks like forgiving myself first, actually, over
Yeah.
before anyone. I was so hard on myself. I mean, I was so hard on myself. I was so, I used to beat myself up, beat my body up. Just, and, I talked to a therapist a couple weeks ago, and they said, if you have vices in growing up and ways to cope through all the dysfunction, thank God for that,
Yeah.
because, it wasn't drugs, and it wasn't hurting and harming my body. But, I mean, there were other things that were not, but thank God for those things, because it got me through the other side.
Hmm.
And, again, my story is just, it's like, I'll tell my story to a therapist, and they're like, holy shit. I think I need to consult some of my colleagues on this one. Because it was a lot. And my 20s, I call my 20s like the death door. It was like, it's like my first love. The first guy I was ever in love with was gunned down in Los Angeles,
Oh, no.
and then my boyfriend at the time committed suicide,
Wow.
and my grandmothers died 6 months from each other, and I was very close with them, and friends and aunts and uncles. It was just like, I swear to God, in my 20s, it was like boom, 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 like 1 month after another, someone else was dying, and I was just like, okay, wow, this is. And the suicide with my ex boyfriend was really tough, because his mom was out of town. I went and ID'd his body with his sister at the morgue. And I mean, just trauma, a lot of trauma is my point. So I've had to really, really work through a lot of trauma. But see, for me, the way I've worked through it is workaholism. That's not always the
Mhm.
best for people, because your body's kind of like, I'm not going to hang with that forever.
Yeah, but I don't think most people could, would make it through something like that. Most people don't. So, like I said, I mean, this whole podcast is all about having people like you that can provide an example. So I think, you're an amazing example, of what can be accomplished even after something, after going through things like that. It's crazy. I didn't even know half that stuff. So
I
you're
know, I
blowing my
know.
mind right now.
Oh, dude, that's only the tip of the iceberg. I'm telling
Right.
you. When I started my business, this is the thing I'm probably most proud of, that I'll share with you and your audience, is that I started, so after my marriage, my first marriage blew up and my partnership and my business, I mean, I was like down and out, rock bottom. My ex-husband was like, if you divorce me, I'll financially devastate you. We had a lot of wealth too. We had houses and cars and boats and stuff and la, la, la. And I was like, I've just got to get away from you. I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't want to hang with him and his girlfriend. Like he wanted to, 2-3 girlfriends on the side, and that just wasn't my idea of marriage. So go figure. So got out of that, and put my stuff in storage and moved into an 800 square foot condo in Scottsdale, and just started my life over. I had to file BK at that time. I had no money. I put all the houses into foreclosure. It was a bad real estate timing when that took place. Everything went into foreclosure, filed BK, started over with a $300 credit card. Cause when I don't know if anyone knows, but when you file BK, you get very low, they get scared about giving you credit.
Right.
Yeah. So they start you out, they like baby, they give you these baby cards with like $200, $300. You're like, oh, wow. $300. Yeah. Whoa. I won't go below that at Mastro's tonight. So it's just, I had nothing. I had a 2-bedroom condo and a little, like, this computer that was old as the freaking, I think it was the first Microsoft computer ever made. It was archaic. And my assistant, who was from the message board at ASU, an intern from ASU, and she came to my door, 17 years old, braces and zits. I tell her braces and zits. And and the first day of work, she got in, I'll never forget this. I hired her part-time to help me with a magazine I was literally starting from scratch. And the first day she got into a car accident, she calls me, she's supposed to be at work. She's like, I got into a car accident with a city bus. I rear-ended a city bus. I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? How does that happen? Like, I don't think this is going to work out. Yeah. And I hung in with her, and literally 18 years later, she's still with me today. She runs my whole sales department.
Wow, that's awesome.
And making huge money, and has 2 kids. Yeah. And so that was just my instinct. Well, I was desperate. I needed someone, but also my instinct that she could actually do the job. She used to cry at her desk and be like, I can't. Literally, we would share this little desk in the second bedroom with this crazy old computer. And she would cry and be like, I can't do this job. I can't do these things that you're telling me to do. I was the sales arm, and I would just come back. I was pumping out orders, and I'd come in, I'd throw them on her desk, and I'm like, just process this stuff. She did all my paperwork. And she hung in there with me, and she's still with me today. And I built a multi-million-dollar business from a $300 credit card.
Yeah, that's
amazing. That's my thing.
And you said something about your instinct on her, because I think some people would be like, "Oh my God, you hit a bus! Like, how big of a warning sign could it be if you're going to rear the bus?" So, what do you think that was? Like, just something told you that, or did she display any signs? Because I think there's the whole hire slow, fire fast type of mentality in business, and then there's so I don't know. For me personally, I don't know what I would do in a situation like that.
I was desperate. I needed help. I loved her. I loved her personality. I mean, she's like a daughter to me now. It's like her kids. It's just she's like family. Obviously, 18 years, long time. She, I just saw something in her. I'm like, she would cry and say, I can't do it. I'm like, yes, you can do it, and you will do it. You can do it, and you will do it, and you need the money. And P.S., you need the money, and I need the help. So let's keep rocking and rolling here. And we did, and it really, really worked out. But there were times there, man, I was like, in that time in my life, there were literally times in my late 20s when I would put the ATM card in the ATM to get out $20, and it would eat it because I didn't have $20 to spit out.
Yep.
And I'm like, how am I paying for gas and food? Mm-hmm. How am I doing this? And I literally would go and cash checks all over town at grocery stores. And I knew exactly, as back before everything was all like totally computerized, where they knew where they could all talk to each other, the computers. Right. So I knew like every grocery store and how long it took for the checks to clear.
Yeah.
And so Safeway was like 3 days. So Safeway was my gold mine. So I'd go there and I'd write like I'd buy like, you know, a pack of gum and some orange juice, and I'd write it for $100 over and then cash it, and that
Yeah.
would be what I would live on until my next paycheck. But then I was in the hole on the next paycheck,
Right. Yeah.
right? Because that check would clear. I never bounced any checks though. I never bounced
Right.
any checks.
Yeah. That is
But I, dude, I don't know. It was insane.
yeah. I think the
It
lesson
was,
here is that you can cry as long as you keep going, right? And as long as you're successful.
yeah. And
You're
there's a lot of
sticking.
crying with the success too.
But yeah, that too. Yeah, there are definitely, when the winds feel pretty good, right?
The wins feel great. I'm not really one of those girls that I don't give myself a lot of atta girls. I'm not really one to really pat myself on the back a lot, and take in. That's one thing I work on in therapy, is taking in the wins and the good stuff and internalizing those.
Hmm.
Because the workaholic in me wants to be like, okay, I did that. What's next? You
Yeah,
know?
I think I talk about this all the time because I'm the same way. Like I have a win, I'm like, okay, rush right through it, go to the next, don't enjoy it, don't do anything nice for yourself, and then keep going. But I think that's important, really stretching out those wins, trying to do more, like soaking up that energy more.
It's so important. We really, really need to do that. It's very important um, to be. I'm really trying to do this, and this is my thing. Have balance and live in the present. I
Hmm.
know it sounds cliche, but live more in the present and enjoy things more. Because I'm my mind. I have monkey mind. I call
Yep.
myself type AAA. I mean, I'm not type A. I'm AAA. I'm going, 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 and I will go till my body won't have it anymore. I mean, I've had physical issues. I've had heart stuff go on. I passed out cold from too much work and stress. I mean, it just, it doesn't, if you're a workaholic, it doesn't serve you in the long term. So you really have to stop and just be like, okay, again, take myself off the hook and be like, shit, that was pretty cool what I just did. That was amazing. And not be like, okay, what's next? Like just take it in and sit with it for a minute and, meditate on it and do all the things I'm trying to teach myself still how to do, calm my central nervous system. My mom, another thing I'll share is my mom, and this is all on my pod, so I'm an open book, but my mom, when she was pregnant with me, she took diet pills,
Yeah.
and she took straight up amphetamines
Hmm.
because she didn't want to gain weight with my brothers. I have two older brothers that she gained weight with, and she didn't want to gain weight. And I'm like, so I kind of came out like a little crack baby in a way.
Yeah. Right.
But I tried to figure out how that could serve me, how it could best serve me.
Yeah, maybe that's like the entrepreneurial ADHD kind of. Maybe that's what it causes. It causes that or something, right?
Something with my nervous system. But I do a lot of internal work of just trying to settle my central nervous system down. Meditation. I do a lot of brain tap. Brain tap is amazing. Our friend Dr. Patrick Porter invented it, and I'm not trying to sell anything, but it is an amazing meditation tool. I cannot meditate. I can't sit down and get
Yeah.
into deep meditation on my own, but this is a device you put on your head. It's like headphones and a visor that comes down with lights and binaural beats, and you hook it up to the phone with some programs, and it's amazing.
Is
It's
that
amazing.
like a brain feedback thing, or is it a little bit
It's
different?
binaural beats, so it plugs you. So you subscribe to the app,
Hmm.
and there's like thousands of programs for everything, like PTSD and stress and waking up and going to sleep, and just everything in between, work and there's a cancer series. So you put the headphones on, and there's lights in the headphones, and then the visor comes down, there's lights in the visor, and the lights correspond to the binaural beats that you're hearing in the headset that's attached to the program. And it's really cool. So that's helped me a great deal. That and EMDR, a lot of EMDR as
Oh
well.
yeah, the that sounds like something I need. So
Brain tap,
yes, yeah,
you should definitely try brain tap. It's
uh,
amazing. It's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not that big of, so believe it or not, I'm not that big of on meditation. Like I do walking, walking meditations, but that's pretty much it, because I gotta be moving all the time. So,
Yeah.
um, too
Yeah.
fidgety for meditating.
Little type A personality, Chris.
Yeah, I know, right? And I got
Yeah.
too much going on in
Well,
the
you're
brain.
intuitive. You're an intuitive. So you have that extra energy going on in your head all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yep.
know I
So,
do.
yeah, all the time. Right. Yeah, I believe it. Got to keep it moving forward. But maybe we should have him on too. Is he available to do interviews?
Dr. Porter?
Yes.
Yes. He would love to.
Yeah, that would be
He's a
awesome.
personal friend. I'll talk to him about it. You would love him. He's so incredibly smart,
Hmm.
and he could tell you the whole science behind brain tap. But it's just when I first met my husband's the one that's been friends with him for 12 years. And when I first met him, he was doing a thing called Zen frames, and it was another version of, and now it's brain tap. But they're getting, I think they're going public here soon. I don't know, but it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Definitely.
If you have problems settling your mind down, and just me, it's like, I mean, I just don't quit. My head, when I lay down at night, my head's just going a mile a
Spinning, yeah.
minute. So, and at night, putting that on really
Hmm.
helps.
Yeah.
Really helps. Yeah. So, what other questions you have for my crazy life
So,
situation?
well, actually, what I want to do before I forget is I do want to go backwards for just a second because you said
Yeah.
something that I think is super important for people in general, where you said, I don't remember exactly what you said, but I kind of wrote it down here, where you said something about your podcast and how you just say whatever's on your mind. You don't really care what people think and you don't try to
Hmm.
make it fit, which I think is, again, maybe that's missing. I think a lot of people try to do things like podcasts and, this podcast's all about getting people to make their own dent in the universe. And I don't think we can do that if we're thinking like, oh, I can't upset this person or I can't say this, I can't say that. So,
Hmm.
like, how did you just start doing it? Did you, I think more people, it really is just that easy with a podcast. I have a lot of people that watch that want to start a podcast. I'm like, well, you just got to get started and not care
Yeah.
what people
Yeah.
think.
Just get the equipment, hook it up, start talking, and do a bunch of shows, and don't quit. Don't quit is the thing. I mean, my ego is too big. So I can't. I had two male producers when I started Just Go After Yourself. They're like, it'll never do anything. You'll never sell that. You'll never sell that title. You'll never sell that title. It's vile. And the people don't understand the meaning. It's not a good show. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I don't
Yeah,
listen to that crap. I don't listen to that crap.
right.
Because you know what? If you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to take pictures.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
it's who I am. And I'm not going to, I don't, these guys thought they were big stuff and in the pod world. And, so I'm like, I kind of have a little bit to prove there, a lot to prove to myself, but it's just a fun show. It's just, there's so much PC. God, it's like, I'm so sick of it. Cancel culture, PC bullshit. I'm so sick of it. It's like, don't we just want to just say it? Just say it.
Yeah, makes
Like,
life more exciting.
right?
Yeah, and if everybody's the same, it's just, I mean, it's just like listening to the same stuff. I mean, I really think the world needs more just like different opinions and all sorts of stuff to listen to. It's like I don't want to listen to the same stuff over and over and over again. I rather listen to a bunch of different stuff, make up my own mind.
Right. Well, I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. I'm
Right.
not trying to be a female Howard Stern. I'm not trying to be a female Joe Rogan. I'm not trying to be those things. I'm just trying to be myself,
Yeah.
and I think that, I mean, the pods I listen to when I have time are about that. They're about people speaking their minds. And as long as we're not hurting anyone, or, we're not, I mean, yeah, I'll talk about some people. I will get into talking about people on my pod, but I've never mentioned names. I will
Mhm.
never mention names and do anything like that or anything malicious. But I think when someone's, we talk about generalities, and we've got some really good topics. I mean, I had a guy on my show who's they're doing a movie right now of his story, Chad Gaines, and his
Yeah.
mom set him on fire when he was 7
Wow.
because
That's horrible.
he peeked in one of the Christmas gifts.
Oh, I did
She
that.
poured lighter fluid all over.
That's
Yeah, but
terrible.
your
Yeah.
parents weren't psycho, I'm sure.
No.
Literally set poured lighter fluid on his hands and set his hands on fire.
Oh, that's terrible.
I mean, I was bawling during the whole pot,
Mm-hmm.
but so what? Like, I'm not going to edit that out. It's just, it was real. And
Yeah.
it was heavy.
Yep. I think more people just need to be good at being themselves, just being, or just being themselves in general on, social media and things. I think a lot of people are kind of asking for that without realizing it. Like Joe Rogan, I think the reason he grew so quickly is because he's just Joe Rogan, right? He's nothing else. That's it.
Love him or hate him. I mean, he
Right.
is just who he is. I mean, exactly. Same with Howard Stern. I mean, I don't know. I've learned a lot from these guys, and what I've learned, and I've had the privilege of interviewing some pretty high profiles.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, and then I've interviewed Shaquille O'Neal, which was amazing. He's
Yeah.
cool as hell. And Dr. Oz and Simon Sinek, one of my, he's an author. Just good people, and it's just every one of them is an experience. And the thing is I'm never afraid. People ask me, like, or in my industry, they're like, well, who do you think you are? There's some haters, they're like, the higher you get, sometimes the bigger the target there is on your back. And I guess you're doing something right if that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, they're kind of like, well, who do you think you are? It's like, well, who am I not? Like, I'm just like everyone else. I'm not afraid to ask. I was like, how'd you get the interview with Shaq? I'm like, I sat on the board with his dentist, and his dentist came up to me after a meeting, and he's like, hey, I want to get a story in your magazine. I'm like, hey, I want Shaq on the cover. Boom, boom, boom. 3 months, it was done. Yep. I was in Atlanta at the Turner Broadcast, the TNT network, and we were shooting there. And Charles, who's a friend because he lives in Arizona, he was there, and he was on the cover of one of my magazines. So it's just like, my favorite motto, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but the one I've taught everyone who's ever worked for me, and it's just the same, is that my motto is everyone poops.
Oh yeah. You told me this.
Everyone poops.
Yep. And so that's what gives you the confidence just to ask anyone to be on your podcast, all the big names and stuff. And yeah,
I'm just true. Like, all anyone can say is no.
Yeah.
Rich people, poor people, middle class people, everybody poops. It doesn't matter. The highest CEO, it's like at the TV station, people will be like, how did you just go into the CEO's office like that? The GM's office. I'm like, what do you mean? He's just a dude. What is he going to do? He's going to tell me to get out of his office if he doesn't want me to be in his office. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. People get so hung up on, and I've told my guy friends this too. I'm like, think about, like, if they're afraid to, ask some girl out or whatever, she's too hot. Oh my God. Okay. Think of her taking a poop.
I think this is the best.
Think of the hottest girl.
Best dating advice ever. It'll work 9 times out of 10.
There's your title for the podcast.
That is the title for the podcast. Don't worry.
Hot girls take poops too.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
It's true though. I mean, it's gotten me through. I'm telling you. I know you probably think I'm crazy, but
no, it's certainly opened a lot of doors for you, no pun intended. I mean, I think that, and it's a great way to move forward. It's like I've heard other things where people say you should, like, embarrass yourself every single day, which I think is kind of similar good advice. Although everybody poops is definitely, like, the best version of that is what I would say there for sure.
It's just everyone has, no one's better than anyone. We're all people. Yep. We're all human beings just trying to survive in this world. Yep. I mean, when I interviewed Tony, he's going down a laundry list of, billionaires that he knows that are grossly unhappy.
Right.
They're, just because someone has a lot of money or their life looks perfect on social media, it's, it's always the A side on social media. It's always the freaking A side. I get caught up in like comparing and getting like diving down the rabbit hole too deep on social media sometimes, and comparing and being like, oh my God, well, they're in Italy and they're doing this and they're doing that, and then south of France and all this shit. And it's like, but they're not doing the cool stuff I get to do, like sit here and do this podcast with you today, and and like, and be present and just like laugh and have a good time. Doesn't mean, it's all an illusion. There's a lot of that going on in this world right now.
Yeah, and when I go on vacation, I just want to come home. So, Italy's not that great.
No. Do you get homesick? You get homesick
Yeah,
really fast?
I don't know. I just like sometimes I just want to be home. I don't know. I'm a homebody, and I'd
I'm
rather
a
just
total
be
homebody.
working. Like on my birthday, I just rather work. That's pretty much what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fun for us, right? It's
Yeah,
fun for
it
us.
is. It is a lot of fun.
There's a lot of fun in work, as long as we can kind of have a balance every once in a while. And that's your older sister trying to teach you to have balance in your life. I'm
Right.
not going to say I'm your mom. I don't think I'm old enough to be your mom.
No, definitely
I'm your
not.
older sister.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah.
Yep. And so I want to talk about microdosing too, because you brought that
Hmm.
up. And so let's get started. Let's go down that rabbit hole. How did you
Hmm.
get started in like with microdosing in the first place?
Uh, well, um, some friends, we're always Joshua Tree. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We're always looking for alternative therapies. My husband and I own a business called Breathe Energy, and we started that, and we've got the brain tap, and we also have um, stem cells.
Okay.
So about 5 years ago, I have an autoimmune condition that causes chronic pain. And 5 years ago, and so Tony actually started this where he told us about stem cells, putting him in his shoulder, and that really worked for him. So so I had 100 million stem cells injected, mesenchymal stem cells injected into my intravenously into my arm, and it was kind of scary. They're very clean cells. It was like, we researched the hell out of this company. They're cleaned. They go through this triple, they work with Department of Defense. They go through all these testing. I mean, it's like, they're very clean cells. They come from the live births of umbilical cords from live birth babies. The mothers donate the umbilical cords. So I did that, and it like literally took away 75% of my pain I had a really gnarly fever for 4 days,
Hmm.
but but after that, I mean, I was freaking out because I had a really high fever. My immune system was trying to figure out what the F
What it
we
was,
just put in
yeah.
it. Yeah. And I literally had 10 blankets on myself. My husband was on top of me, and I was chattering. My teeth were chattering so hard I thought I was going to like bite my tongue off. I mean, it was horrible. And and finally, after 4 days, I'm like, what are we going to do? Go to the hospital and ask for the antidote for stem cells? Like, what are we going to do? What are we doing? So thank God, 4 days later, I'm on the ground with the puppies, playing with our dogs, pain free, and it was incredible. So we're like, wow, there's really something to these alternative therapies, because it had just gotten approved in the U.S. to do them. You do these things at your own risk, obviously, but not all of them are FDA cleared, right? Obviously.
Right.
But there is one strain of mushroom, that a psychedelic psilocybin, that is it's legal in all states except for like one. And it's don't ask me the name of it, but it's the red one with the little white dots. It looks like the Mario
Okay.
Brothers
Yeah.
mushroom. So that in microdosing, they have found that it helps people big time with depression, anxiety, just their overall mental health, PTSD, all of that. So my husband has really, dove headfirst into it, and he's done the research, we work with a great group of people who really know what they're doing. That's the one thing we always do when we take on these projects, is that we make sure that we vet the people. Huge, right? I mean, that's
Sure.
obvious. And make sure that they're not putting out some crazy stuff. And so what this is, coming up here soon, and it's going to be going public next year. It's a metaverse for people with mental health issues,
Oh, nice.
depression, anxiety, any of that. And they can go and actually it's a virtual reality metaverse. So they can buy their goggles, and they can go on and actually have appointments with counselors and get alternative therapies and buy things on the metaverse and that are going to help them, and then actually like just to have it delivered to their house. And interact with others. Like you could do yoga in the middle of a rainforest. You could,
Wow.
you could go bungee jumping there. I mean, all kinds of different stuff that you want to do. But there's not, they have not done one for mental health, and this is one specifically for mental health, because there's a lot of stigma attached to, some people don't want to go and see a therapist. They don't want to go if they they're afraid, or they don't want to sit and talk to somebody, but maybe they're too shy, or I don't know, they just don't want to. And telemedicine in COVID has really proven successful. And so this is kind of leaps above that, where somebody can actually, in the privacy of their own home, interact over a virtual reality metaverse, which is really cool.
I think that's awesome. So many people are like afraid. They think of evil Zuckerberg, my arch nemesis.
Yeah.
They think of metaverse and are like, oh, they're going to control our brain. But I think there are so many. I mean, that is one of the probably most positive ways that I think a metaverse could be used. You know what I mean? It could be used for something like that, which that's definitely. This is kind of early stage. I'm guessing.
Very early stage. They actually. Early stage, but they actually acquired a company called Hypatia, which had actually built the metaverse already. So they're leaps and bounds ahead of the technology, because they've already been working on it for like 6 years. And they're just now, getting ready to push it out. But it's also going to have its own cryptocurrency, which is called the Mind Coin. And I think I sent you information on that.
Yep.
And they're getting ready to start second round on the Mind Coin for people that want to invest in that. So it's pretty cool, because any transactions within that metaverse are going to have that coin attached to it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting to see where these things will end up. It's like this whole new world. It is.
I know. All these things that are happening right now, and the NFTs and all the stuff, my artist friends that are, making huge bank on these NFTs. Yeah. I'm just like, it's incredible. And if we don't, we have to catch up, and we have to play ball here. Otherwise you're going to, you have to think 10 steps ahead of what other people are going to be doing, right? To be successful. You always say that. You talk about that all the time on your show.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of, cryptocurrency personally, but, I think, where it will end up, I have no clue. But I mean, that's part of the fun for me. Maybe I'm like a risk taker or whatever, but I kind of like the idea of just an alternative, option for not only just worlds, but also currency just in general,
Yes. Well, I mean, we could go down a political rabbit hole here, but I
right.
mean, what's happening with the US dollar.
Yeah, of course.
And, and where is it even safe to invest these days? I mean, we pulled all of our money out of the market, thank God, before it took a shitter. So it's like, we had a ton of money in the market. I'm like, all of a sudden one day I woke up and I'm just like, me, intuitive energy. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. I'm just not feeling comfortable with that at all right now. I'd rather stick it under the freaking, mattress at this point. So,
I agree.
So we're looking at other things and doing other things and trying to see into the future and what's going to be happening and all the cool stuff. But there's so much. I mean, there's just so much. It's incredible. Yeah, it's kind of scary.
It's a lot to learn, I think, too. But I think being one of the first is probably a smart idea, is what I would say. So I think it's probably going to go very well. But
I hope so. Yeah. Super excited.
I could talk about cryptocurrency all day long, so I'll spare you the details. But
well, you should get on with my husband, because he's the same, and you guys could talk about that. But he's, I'm really excited about it, and again, it's all timing. It's all like, for me, it's like investing is like, okay, the sun and the moon and the stars all have to align for everything to be, just right. But it feels good. It feels lucky, and it feels like luck and preparedness, and or some little thinking ahead and all that. It all feels good. I kind of I go with my gut, girl, obviously.
obviously, I mean, you've talked about that about 20 times, so and it seems like your gut is always right. And I think not enough people do that. They don't trust it. They just kind of say, "Oh no, I'm not going to listen to that like little voice or whatever inside," and they ignore it, and then probably regret it later.
Totally. I mean, there have been so many times where I haven't. I mean, I don't always listen to it because she gets a little crazy in there sometimes. But there's been times where I needed to listen to it and had not, and that I paid dearly for it,
Yeah.
you know? And then there's times where I did listen to it and it saved my life.
Right. Yep.
So we just have to tune in. We have to tune in. I think everyone, don't you think everyone has the capacity
Oh
to
yeah.
really like tune into their spiritual side?
Yeah, I think more and more people are going to do it. And I think that, it's like the more, I think if you're in a certain, zone, you probably get more of those intuitive hits or those little voices inside of you that say like, hey, this business is a good idea, or, this person's a good person, even though they run into buses, or, whatever the case may be. It's like, I think when you really, really listen to that, I think as long as you're, to use a cliche spiritual term, in alignment, then, you're probably going to make some pretty good decisions,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm very, I always say this on the show. I've always had a very good relationship with JC. I always say
Mhm.
JC, and me and him are tight. And I just feel like I really try and my angels and my guides, and there's no doubt that, they've gotten me out of some major jams.
Mhm.
There is no doubt. And I feel protected. Every day I wake up and I'm like, shields up,
Yep.
shields up. And I literally like do it, from my toes to my head. I'm like,
Oh
shields
yeah.
up. And that's my bubble, my iridescent. It's like an iridescent color bubble of
Yeah.
protection. So I know that sounds really woo woo, and we probably
No,
lost
I,
everyone
I
that's listening.
I know everybody's listening. No, I like, because I do the egg in the shower. Do you know that one where you picture a
No.
golden egg around you in the shower and you picture like dirty water running off of it? So that's mine. That's what I do
Oh,
every day.
oh,
Yeah.
that's good. I
So
like
very
that.
very similar but different.
I like that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Archangel Michael, he's a big thing. We have a bronze statue in our living
Oh
room
yeah.
from Archangel Michael. And it's really funny because he comes up in a lot of my readings and a lot of my just any of my spiritual stuff, my EMDR. Uh it'll be like Archangel Michael's hanging out. So that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. And when you put it, I think when you put it out there, you just, kind of attract it more to you as well. So,
Yeah,
there you go.
for
Whatever
sure.
whatever that was, that,
Yes.
that little noise, that was a confirmation for me.
Sorry.
No,
That
it's
was one of
okay.
the
That was
dogs flipping
that
their
was
bowl over.
perfectly timed.
Yes, it was.
That was
Sound like a
amazing.
bell.
Yeah, it did. That's what I
They
thought it
agreed
was.
with
I
you.
was like, oh, that's a bell. There you go. Yep. Well, I
So
don't.
what are you trying to accomplish on your pod?
So this podcast, I want to just share people's stories like who have made their own dent in the universe, because it's like for years and years and years I did nothing with my life. I had a business failure when I was younger, and I did nothing for like 3 years. Although I spent that time learning a great deal about just like business in general, getting better business and everything. And then I got to this point where I tried so many things that I started getting scared to just try anything. So I just wouldn't do it. So I just didn't do anything, and I had to get over that. And so, really, I just want to show people that it's possible to do this. I mean, I literally fell on my head when I was 10 years old, and
Hmm.
I started failing school and all this other stuff.
You had a
ADHD,
brain
like,
injury?
yeah, brain injury
Oh
from
man.
that. So it's like if I can do it, you can do it is my motto. Not really a motto, but everybody says it. But it's so true. It's like if I can get over that, like you, I mean, I had moments where like multiple times I was negative $800 in my bank account, and it's like
Yeah.
I had to do it. I basically grew everything else that I've done so far on my own, and so which
Did
I
you
don't
did you have your
recommend.
parents to fall back on at all?
Yeah, luckily amazing parents. So, yep, definitely had my parents, which was helpful. But
That's good.
like I said, really the whole point is just getting people to, realize that they probably have something inside of them that wants to come out. So, and it can totally come out if they just do it, as I love to say. I know it's easier said than done, but you did
It's
it.
scary. I get it. I have a
It's scary,
sign,
yeah.
and I have a sign in our kitchen that says do something every day that scares you. And
Yep, there you go.
it's if we're not doing that, then, life gets pretty boring and complacent and stuck.
Hmm.
And stuck energy is just no bueno.
Yeah, it's not, and it just gets worse. It's like being stuck in the mud. I think you just start sinking deeper and deeper.
Right. And I've learned on this forgiveness journey that, we just because people are blood, doesn't mean that, and there's a lot of people out there that have family issues, with people with their blood relatives. And, we can forgive them and we can move on, but it doesn't mean we have to have a relationship with these people. And it's
Mhm.
okay, because there's a lot of guilt and a lot of stuff attached to that. I had to go through that myself, where it's like, well, I mean, these people are blood. I'm supposed to like make it work at all costs. No, no, not when they're being fuckers to you. You don't,
it, it
you
kind of like,
know?
do you ever think about, or do you ever think about people who say things like, I've encountered a lot of people who maybe have situations where they do have the guilt. They feel like they have to maybe take care of a parent or something like that. And that's the thing that prevents them from, launching their business or moving cross country or doing something that they want to do. And I really don't have a good, maybe you do, maybe you have a good answer to this, but I don't know what to say to those people, because it's like, I understand it, wanting to take care of family, but at the same time, it's like, should you sacrifice your own life for someone else? I always say no, no matter
Absolutely
what.
not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can
Mhm.
still love those people and care for those people at a distance. I had a shrink on my pod a couple months ago, and his phrase was, "I wish you well, just well away from me."
There you go.
I wish you well, just
Yeah.
well, and that's perfect,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay. I mean, I love that. I love that phrase, because we don't have to be hating in our hearts for people that have done us wrong, or what we perceive to have them do wrong to us, to let them go with love and light
Hmm.
and forgiveness. And we don't have to have, the main thing I've learned in this podcast is we don't have to have a conversation with them about it. We don't. Not everybody deserves the presence of our presence, right?
Hmm.
My presence in someone's life is a gift. if
Yep.
they take if they take that gift and smash it and abuse it and trash it every time I see it, they're not going to, why am I going to keep giving it? No, they're not going to get that present anymore. So, it's just, some people we just have to let go and just like peace and move on for ourselves. My dad did a lot of heinous stuff. He did a lot of heinous shit. Like, I mean, it can't get any worse than marrying my aunt. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I forgave him for me,
Hmm.
because I didn't want to carry that shit around for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I don't want to carry that resentment and that anger and that. I mean, I was really angry with him by all rights.
Hmm.
Who wouldn't be? It could have been anyone in this entire world. I mean, there's billions of people, and he's got to pick my mom's sister. I mean, it's like, okay, that was a big one. That was a big one to forgive.
Yep.
And but I finally did, and when he passed away, we were good. We were good, and I had trauma there. He had a horrible bout of cancer, and I helped him. I had forgiven him. We'd gotten past everything, and I helped save his house from going into foreclosure, and gave him money, and try to keep him comfortable when he was dying of cancer. And he fell. He was supposed to be in dialysis the day he died, and he skipped it and fell on the floor of his living room. And I rushed over there, and he died on the floor in my arms.
Yeah.
So it was not all nice and contained in a hospital. I always thought, okay, this is going to be like,
Yep.
in hospice or something like that, and it wasn't. It was absolutely horrible. So, you know, apparently for some reason, I've been given a lot of like trauma to see and go through. I
Mm.
guess because like my husband says, it's because you can handle it.
Because you can handle it.
Because
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Because you can handle it. That's probably why.
I've had enough. I've seen enough.
Yeah.
I
I think
don't.
I think
I
you're done
I'm
now.
good. I'm good. I'm good
Yeah.
now. I want to
Right.
just, so this part of my journey is about that, is about peace and balance, and letting go of all the bullshit. Just letting go of all the bullshit.
Hmm. It makes life so much more free.
Life's too short. Yeah,
Yeah.
life's too
Absolutely.
short. It really is.
It
It
is.
can be gone in the blink of an eye.
Yep. Yep. The again, no, I say all the time that you could get hit by a bus tomorrow. It's like, it's crazy, how quickly it can happen. So yeah, you just have to let go. It makes it so much easier.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I've taken up enough of your time,
Oh,
so
it's been so much
it's been
fun.
a blast. I definitely
Wait,
want
are
to
you
have you
gonna pull a
back on.
tarot card for me?
I will pull. I have a deck right here, so
Ah,
we're gonna pull a Lisa card.
yes.
Okay, let's see what we get for Lisa coming up. Maybe I need to
I knew
start
you
doing this
had. I
to
knew you must have had a deck
every
hanging
single.
around there.
Oh, I have like decks all over the place, right? So, what do we? Oh, Judgment. Can you see that? Am I on the camera?
Yes, I can see
So
it.
wake up. It's a wake up call and a rebirth, and probably Judgment. I always think of as these people standing in their coffins, and their coffin is the old life, and outside of the coffin is their new life. So to me, it comes up when we're like going through either having a wake up call, going to starting something new, or maybe waking up to like a true purpose, or even developing further into a purpose. Kind of, but needing to step outside
Yeah.
the coffin, of course, right? Because you got to
Yes.
get away from that old life.
I don't like coffins.
No, no,
That's too
definitely not.
claustrophobic.
Definitely not
I,
after that.
I already told my husband I don't want to go that way. Don't put me in a box.
You want to be burned up?
I guess so. God, if
Yeah.
that's the only alternative,
Well, I
I
think
guess we.
they can turn you into like a jewel nowadays or something like that, can't they? So
Yeah. Well, that's kind of cool.
have you seen that the diamond thing?
Yeah. 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 Or
So
coral at the bottom of the ocean. But then
oh
I
hey
don't like.
that would be
The ocean freaks me out too, though. I don't know.
maybe I'll have to do that. I like the ocean, so
Yeah.
that would be good.
They can grow all kind. You can be in a coral reef now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to do that.
There's a lot of things apparently. I don't know.
Yeah.
We had that place is in Scottsdale here where they like save your heads and
Oh
they
yeah,
freeze
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It's in Scottsdale.
I
Creepy.
did, I think I did. I watched a thing on because of course, I watch normal things on TV. I watched a thing
Yeah.
about that, like where it was a story. I think it was in Scottsdale or something, where they had some lady that she died. They pumped her all her fluids out, pumped her full of whatever that cryo stuff is.
Whatever. And
She's
froze her.
she's your neighbor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They have heads and bodies
Everything.
and all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff down there because they think later on they're gonna be reattached and they're gonna bring them back to life.
See, I've
I don't
watched
know.
Futurama, so I can't. I just couldn't do it. I know it. I would be too scared.
I don't
Unless I had like a couple of Bitcoin and Bitcoin was worth like $1 billion in the future, and then I get unfrozen a multi-billionaire
oh yeah, that could
because of
work.
my
That could
Bitcoin. Yeah,
work.
that could work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think when it's my time, it's my time. And
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just need to go to go to a better place and
Yeah,
hang out with all my friends and fam
absolutely.
and my animals. I'm such a huge animal person.
Oh, that's right. And you could take a vacation there too. So it'd be like your vacation.
Permanently.
Permanent. Yeah. Of course. Yep.
Oh, Chris, we're so funny.
I know we are hilarious. But so
Well, you got to come back on my show.
absolutely, and then you can come back. We can just keep trading off. But
Yeah.
so where can people find you as well? Where should they find you?
The pod is justgoafyourself.com, and you can also find the pod anywhere you download your podcast. It's on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all the usual places. But yeah, check it out, and I'd love it if your listeners would check out my pod and subscribe. That'd be amazing.
Of course, we're gonna put all your links in the show notes down below the video. They will be everywhere.
Yeah.
So everybody
Yay!
make sure to check out Lisa.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. And
Yep,
if you
thank
guys
you.
have any ideas for any guests, it's Lisa at justgoafyourself.com. Shoot me an email if you have any cool guests you want me to interview on the show.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Other than the one and only Chris Reck.
There you go. All right.
I have to say, you were one of the top. I just did a recap show and we were talking
really?
about our favorite guests, and your name was like in the top 3. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Love it. That's awesome.
You're awesome. You're awesome. Thank you for all you do. And good luck with your pod. I know you're going to kill it. You already are.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Getting there.
You're good. You're good.
Oh, thanks. Working on my conversation skills.
You're fine. You're gonna kill this thing like you do your other stuff. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm a big fan. Big fan of Chris Reck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
I'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Take care.
Bye bye.